the first question I want to ask you is how did you become a non feminist woman?
I started back in like 2010. I started getting interested in. Started reading some police blogs, and then I got interested in the gun rights movement. I've always been a Second Amendment fan. I've always had a couple of guns. My dad was a retired cop. Sister's a retired cop. Um, and through the gun rights, I started finding more libertarian-minded people, and then I just sort of stumbled into. I believe the first site I was reading regularly was Dalrock. He is a Christian. You know who he is?
No, no,
His,
sorry.
uh,
Tell me.
it's Dalrock, and he was. I think he's still there. Anti-feminist Christian, but the comments sections, great. I spent hours and hours having conversations with these people and learning about feminism from them, and I realized, you know what? No, I'm not a feminist because feminism is not about equality, or rather, it's not about equal rights. What they call equality is more like equity, and I don't believe that. I favor.
What would you say feminism is about?
Women's privilege over men.
Okay.
Absolutely. Every single thing feminists have done is to increase women's privilege to the point that women's privileges are codified as rights, and so that women have more rights than men.
It's a kind of strange delusion that we are oppressed, right? And,
exactly.
And of
and
course,
that was
yeah.
that was the one phrase that hit me in a conversation. I mentioned something about women's oppression, and a guy said, women aren't oppressed, and they weren't oppressed. And I thought that was strange. And I guess I could have gone. I realized he was right, that there really is no place in history where women have been oppressed more than men or by men.
We have always been oppressed to a certain extent. But then everybody exactly, we were all in it together. I agree. We were oppressed by nature from day one, and everything else has been a struggle to free ourselves from each other and nature, and it's just always been a struggle, basically.
Yes, and that's what life is. And I have, and it's not. Most of what they talk about isn't even oppression. The disadvantages either sex has, hardships, cultural, natural, that most of it is not truly oppression. It's not someone's taking away your rights. It's, well, we're giving up these rights in exchange for those rights or privileges. So yeah, and I realized how the word games, and I'm kind of a lexiphile. I love language. The word games you have to play in order to call all this the oppression of women by men is beyond. It's not a mistake. It can't be sincere, which means it is definitely a lie, and it's a mendacious lie, and it's for profit and power. And that's the goal of it. And I'm sorry, that's not an equality movement. That is that's a totalitarian
manipulative
ideology.
Yeah, it's a mind game. It's manipulative, and it's a bit confusing. If you try to analyze the truth, then it's confusing because it feels a bit delusional, and then it's like, do they know they're lying? No, they don't know. Then how did it get here? How, or maybe they know, but I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. And then I started looking into it and found that everything they say is a lie. Little half-truths here, little partial truths here, little out-of-context anecdotes. And there can't be a good reason for that. There can't be a moral reason for that.
So what is your view on the word patriarchy? Do we live in one, or how does...
Oh, feminists have done a really good job of trashing it. I think as a species, we function well in a patriarchy, just because of how our brains work and how our bodies are designed. Technically, women can survive separately from men, but in order for women to have children, they need men's resources. And men naturally produce more resources than women and are mentally inclined to share those resources with their offspring and, of course, the mothers. So patriarchy is, it's not that it's an instinct, but it fits in with our instincts.
Okay.
And the way we are. And it, in some ways, it hurts everybody because it puts obligations on men and on women and on children, and gives but it also benefits everybody. And what it benefits overall is society itself, and that, gosh, sounds like collectivism, but it can be applied to a whole society collectively, or an individual family of 3 people. So it's not necessarily collectivist, but we are social creatures. We can't survive for very long without a society around us, at least a small one. And so, yeah, patriarchy it's not what feminists say it is. Of course, it's not the oppression of women by men for men's benefit. Nonsense.
What is
if that were the case, we'd all be living in barns, sleeping under hay.
What is your... Oh, sorry. Yeah, I agree. What is your view on traditional gender roles? Sorry to have cut you off there.
Oh, no. Yeah. I like patriarchy. Traditional gender roles are mostly suited to our makeup. However, this is where I'm not a conservative or what would be considered a traditionalist, because I recognize tradition as critically important to social stability. So you don't throw traditions out, but they have to evolve, or they become either useless or dangerous. So I think a default position is don't mess with traditions too much, but tweak them a little when they need to be changed a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So modern traditional gender roles would not look like what it would have looked like 50 years ago or 100 or whatever, because the situation has changed. And
so much.
Right. So we can't do what we did before. If women, for example, weren't working at all in the past, it can't work for today. But maybe they could work less than men, and that could be the new tradition, and that could be okay if it works for families, or maybe not. We have to see. But it's complicated to say what can be, but it's okay to have some differences that are normal. Let's see. What is your view on MRAs, men's rights activists?
I am one.
Okay.
I'm more of an advocate now. I don't do much actively. I still have the Women Fighting Feminism Facebook page, and I still do a little bit with A Voice for Men, but I don't write articles anymore. I haven't gone to conferences in a few years. I don't subscribe to anyone who wants to pigeonhole.
Right. Okay. The labels are difficult. Yes, it's too difficult. Right, yeah. Because you are an individual with thoughts that range from feminism to not to whatever, to everything, right?
Yes.
Right. So so you're an individual first, of course, like everyone else, and the rest is if you want to get to know you, then get to know you. And okay, so
and I think the different factions need to remember purists have a place, because you need to really understand your principles as a movement. But to expect everyone in your movement or associated with your movement to have exactly the same values and priorities as you, that's ridiculous. That will isolate you. So alliances are valuable. They're necessary, but your allies or people with whom you cooperate aren't necessarily going to be your close and loyal allies or friends. And that's okay. And we're losing that so much in society, where anyone who's not just like me is my enemy. No, that's ridiculous, and it's destructive. And cancel culture has done so much to make that inclination worse and bring it to the forefront, because there are always people who are like that, and then there are people who are don't want to get in the line of fire, so they hesitate to take sides or they avoid it, and basically they will go along with whoever's shouting loudest. Yeah, okay, I don't necessarily agree with you, but I'm sure not going to argue with you.